Hey everybody. I was going to wait until October to make this video because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But with all that's going on in the news, and when I heard the story of the football player, Chad Wheeler, who played for the Seattle Seahawks, he abused his girlfriend, and it set something off in me. I needed to it was time for me to tell my own truth, in hopes that it helps someone, in hopes that it helps someone to get out of the situation that they're in, and to help someone realize that they're being abused. I was in an abusive relationship for a long time, and the truth is, I didn't even know that I was being abused. And I'm sure there's many people out there that are in the same situation. So, if you don't know who Chad Wheeler is, and you don't know the story of what happened, you can Google it. I didn't want to put his picture on here, and I definitely didn't want to put the picture of his victim on here because it's really, really sad. I don't want to give him any more power than he already has. I'm so upset with the fact that they keep saying that he was having a manic episode, which is, to me, is really, really, it should be offensive to anyone that's dealing with mental illness. There are plenty of people out there that have manic episodes, and they don't do the things that he did. It was really bad to hear and to read what he said and what he did. Like I said, I am a domestic abuse survivor. I refuse to use the word victim because I'm nobody's victim. But I did survive. And in me trying to heal from all of the things that I've been through, I felt like it was time. It was time for me to tell my story. I understand that by me telling my story, it may hurt others, but sorry. But I have to tell my truth. I just want to tell you a little bit about what domestic abuse is. It comes in various ways. It's not just physical violence. When people hear of domestic abuse or they hear the word abuse, they think of physical violence, but it's more than just the physical part of it. In all honesty, the physical parts of it, you can heal from. The emotional parts of it is what's the most damaging. Domestic abuse can present itself as physical violence, which is hitting or using objects to harm you. It can also be sexual abuse. And when I say sexual abuse, I'm not just talking about forced sexual acts. I'm also talking about using sex to control people. So withholding sex. And I don't mean the honey, not tonight, I don't feel well. I mean the actual, withholding in hopes of controlling your partner. Sexual abuse is also, not allowing your partner to use birth control, or forcing them to get pregnant, or forcing them to keep a baby that they did not want after you forced them to get pregnant by preventing them from using birth control. Creating what we like to call trap-em babies. Okay, so when I say a trap-em baby, some of you know what it is, but for the ones of you that don't, those babies are the ones that you create in hopes of keeping a person and trying to keep them under your thumb, because you know that they'll have to be with you because you have a child together. Next, we're going to talk about the emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse. The emotional and verbal abuse kind of go hand in hand. It's the belittling, it's the using their past or their uh, things that they've told you in confidence, using those things against them, using those things to hurt them, just saying, saying hurtful things. Gaslighting is a big one. Gaslighting is when someone says things or they do things and they try to convince you that you are the crazy one, that there is something wrong with you. Financial abuse. And financial abuse, they try to control you with money. They try to limit your resources. They try to prevent you from going to school, because if they can control you financially, if you are dependent on them financially, then it's harder for you to get up under their thumb. They can, limit, like taking the debit card, controlling the money, controlling your paycheck, taking your paycheck from you, only allowing to have a certain amount of money out of your own money, or just keeping you from having money at all, because money equals freedom, and they know that. So if they can control the money, they can control you. Domestic abuse, it does not discriminate. 1 in 3 women have experienced some type of domestic abuse. 1 in 4 men have experienced some type of domestic abuse. It does not discriminate age, race, religion, sexual orientation. It does not discriminate. Abusers use shame, they use guilt, they use fear, they use intimidation, just to keep you up under their thumb. There are signs that you can look for to try to figure out if you're being abused. If you don't already know that you're being abused, there are signs. There are signs. One is that you are afraid of your partner. If you're afraid of their reaction when you try to tell them about something, or if you talk about certain subjects, so you always feel like you're walking on eggshells, that is a sign that you are in a abusive relationship. So if you feel numb emotionally, a lot of times survivors will shut down emotionally because of all the abuse that they've endured. You start to question your own sanity, because, like I said, with the gaslighting, and if you really want to know what gaslighting is, you can look it up, and you start to question your own sanity, because your abuser is constantly telling you, no, you're crazy, you are crazy, but you know you're not, but they keep telling you that you are crazy. So then after a while, you start to question, am I crazy? You start to think that everything that you do is wrong. Nothing you can do is right. And that is a sign of that you are being abused, because your partner has told you that everything you do is wrong. Nothing you do is right. Everything you touch fails. So you start to believe it, when in all honesty, that's not the case. Your partner puts you down. They yell at you. They threaten to harm you. They threaten to take your children away from you because you are not a good enough parent. They threaten suicide if you tell them that you're going to leave, or if they think you're going to leave and then they tell you, okay, well, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. That is definitely a tactic that abusers use to try to keep control of you. Another thing that partners do is they will blame you for your own abuse. And they will tell you that the reason I do this is for your own good. Or the reason I hit you was because you said something or you did something that I did not like, and it caused me to do that to you. That is not acceptable. And that is definitely abuse. There is definitely help out there. There is a domestic violence hotline, and the number is 1-800-799-SAFE, and that's 1-800-799-7233. And there's also a website. It's called helpguide.org. That gives you a lot of information and helps you to identify if you're being abused, or if you're in an abusive relationship. If you know someone that's in an abusive relationship, show them this video. Share it. Share it. I am going to tell my own story, and it's hard for me to tell. I was in a relationship for 13 years. I had 4 children. In the beginning, I did not know that I was being abused because the abuse did not start physical. The abuse started verbally and emotionally. And because I had dealt with verbal abuse at a younger age, and in other relationships, and in family relationships, that I tolerated it. And we have a problem with tolerating things that are not normal, and we normalize them, and we start to think that's the norm. So I dealt with the verbal and the emotional abuse because in my mind it was, but he's not hitting me. So I dealt with that for years, for several years. The putting me down, the telling me that, the clothes I'm wearing isn't, good enough, or I shouldn't be wearing that, or that doesn't look good on you. And, I would just change clothes. And, one day I went to his mother's house, and I had on an orange outfit. And she told me I looked really good. And I told her, "Oh, do I?" I said, "Because," I said, "your son told me that I look like a big pumpkin." And she laughed it off. And what she said was, "Girl, that's how you know you look good. When they start to do that, that's how you know you look good. So just ignore that." And, that always stuck with me. That, and that's how I kind of looked at it. Okay, well, when he said harmful things, when he said, that I didn't look good, that just meant that I look good, and he didn't want to admit it. But now I know, no, that was abuse. After the verbal and the emotional abuse and the intimidation and the threats, then came the physical abuse. And when the physical abuse started, I chalked it up to, it was because he was drinking, and his drinking caused him to lash out and to harm me. He got help. We continued on with the relationship. The physical abuse stopped. The verbal and the emotional abuse did not. We continued on. We even got married. Years later, he started drinking again. Things became physically abusive again. There was more intimidation. There was more of the harmful words. The more education I got, I noticed the meaner he got. The better job I got, the meaner he got. So instead of being happy, because now here it is, we were able to do more things, he got more upset at the fact that I started making more money than him. In my mind, it was a partnership. So, I mean, hey, if we making money, we making money. But to him, no, she's making more money. She can leave me. And that was, it became rough. And he started to do everything he could to keep us down, to try to keep me up under him. He would do things like if I had a flat tire, he would refuse to help me get that tire fixed. If I needed money for something, he would refuse or say he didn't have it when I know he did. But, he was not going to help me do anything that could help me to better myself and put me in a better position to leave. It wasn't until I was in a psychology class that we had to study narcissism that I realized that I was in a relationship with a narcissist. As I looked and I studied and I figured out what a narcissist was, I kind of knew that I needed to get out, but I still didn't know how. It's a lot of people tell you just leave, but that's easier said than done. So I continued and I stayed. While I stayed in this abusive relationship, I, decided that I had had enough, but I was willing to try counseling to see if there was anything we could do to save this relationship. We went to counseling, and during the counseling sessions, I realized that he was not taking it seriously. He was only going just to try to keep me. Even the counselor got to the point where he realized what was going on, and he terminated our counseling and said that he was not going to have a part, wasn't having it. So after that, I knew it was time for me to start making my exit strategy. I found a better job, paying more money, because I knew that I had these children that I was going to have to provide for. So I started making moves for my future and for my children's future. And I believe that he could sense that I was starting to get my my feet up under me, and that he knew he was losing control of me. So one night he attacked me. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was when I finally decided that it was done. I didn't want any parts of it anymore. Unfortunately, my children had to be there. They had to witness parts of what was happening. But I believe that they already knew that the relationship was abusive, because they would come to me. There's times where they would ask me, Mom, has my dad ever hit you? They would make comments like, Mom, why don't you just dump him? Why don't you just leave him? We want you to be with a man that's going to treat you good, that's going to take you places, that's going to be nice to you. So I believe that they already knew I was in an abusive relationship. Kids pick up a lot, and I knew that I needed to not only try to save myself, but to try to save them. Because I didn't want them to think that what was happening to me was normal or acceptable. I put them out, but that didn't stop the abuse. I luckily for me, in the city that I live in, the police have what they call domestic violence advocates. And I was able to sit down with an advocate, and she gave me an assessment. And this assessment really opened my eyes, and it made me never look back, because in that assessment, they assessed, like, to figure out what types of abuse have you experienced, and what is the likelihood that you will be seriously harmed or killed by your abuser. So after sitting down with the advocate and doing this assessment, it came back that I had been abused in every category on her list, and that there was a very high likelihood that I was going to be seriously injured or killed by my abuser. That was the scariest thing that I ever had to go through. Looking at the test results, that there scared me so bad. And they were correct. Once I left, I started being stalked and harassed, and it lasted for a while. It got so bad that I had to get a restraining order. Not that the restraining order really stopped anything. I entered domestic violence counseling, and that was very, very helpful. I even went to a domestic violence group. That was very helpful because I was in a group with people that had experienced a lot of the same things that I had experienced. So after I got out, he had always threatened during the relationship that I was not a good mother, that he was going, if I chose to leave him, he was going to take my children because I was unfit to raise his children. And that was a part of what kept me. That was a part of what helped me. Even though I knew I was an awesome mother, I never, ever, ever wanted to have to go through that. Telling this is very emotional for me, but I feel like it needs to be done. I feel like maybe in me telling my story, I can help someone else, that I can help someone to see that you can get out, you can survive. It is not too late. Things can get better. Things got a lot better for me after I left. If you know someone that is being abused or that you think is being abused, share this video. Anyone that can reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to help in any way that I can, or to help you find the right resources, to help you with anything that I could help you with, to align you with anybody that I could possibly align you with, to get through it, and just to know that you are not alone, and that it'll be okay. With that being said, I wish you all well. I thank you for listening to me. I hope that this helps someone. I hope that my story can be a testimony, just to show that, we are stronger than we believe. We endure a lot of things. I always hear hear this voice saying, if God will bring you to it, he'll bring you through it. And that's how I live my life. That anything that happens or anything that has happened, it's happened for a reason, whether it be a test or whether it be just for a testimony. One of the things that my abuser did was, he talked about, he would comment about the clothes I wear or just little things. He would tell me that, me being able to, there was nothing that I could ever do for him that he couldn't do for himself. He would quote lines from the movie What's Love Got to Do with It. Once we got married, he would make comments and he would say things like, you're my property now. And looking back on that, like he was grooming me and he was just kind of breaking me down. That is, sometimes they make little jokes, and it seems funny, but then you be like, but that really wasn't that funny. It was actually kind of mean or hurtful. Those are things that you definitely have to look out for. And if it's happening to you, if you are experiencing similar things, if, someone is making those type of comments, if somebody's making those type of very, very jokes that really aren't that funny, actually it's really kind of hurtful, then if you think you're being abused, then most likely you are. I will make sure that I put in the bio the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Again, the website is called helpguide.org, and it'll give you more information about what domestic abuse is. So I am encouraging any and everybody to take this seriously. I don't want for you to have to go through what I went through. And if I could save just one person, if I could help just one person, I would feel like telling my story was worth it.